Facing challenges and overcoming setbacks is part of doing business. Whether you have the expertise to survive them or not could mean the difference between success or failure. Welcome to We Are Women, featuring revealing conversations that provide invaluable insights into the success secrets of female masterminds. A must listen for every entrepreneurial woman. Now here's your host, Janine Vosper.
Hi, it's Janine Vosper, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Women podcast. Today with me, I have Phoebe Dray. Now, Phoebe is an award-winning qualified accountant. However, Phoebe isn't your typical accountant. You're going to learn that as we go through the interview today. Phoebe is passionate and fun and driven to help entrepreneurs succeed in business, but far more than crunching numbers and preparing tax. Oh, that's usually what people think, Phoebe, isn't it? It's just all that boring stuff. In fact, Phoebe is a business and finance success coach with a solid experience in management, accounting, business strategy, cash flow improvement strategies. Phoebe works one-on-one with her clients in her Strength in Numbers coaching program and has created her 12-month group coaching program, Profit to Cash Launchpad, to help business owners turn their profit into real cash and live the life of their dreams. That's what we all want to do, isn't it? Just live that's the purpose of working. Phoebe understands the strategies needed to make a business successful and is focused on sharing this knowledge in a simple, easy to understand way so you can implement what you learn and create the wildly successful business of your dreams. Welcome, Phoebe.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You most welcome. I love that intro because it's not a whole lot of all these degree-based things where you've done it, you're an accountant, but this is what you do is really help people achieve their dreams. And that's what we want to do in business, isn't it? That's why people usually get into business.
It is often they've got a passion for something and they want to share it with the world and decide they no longer want to be an employee and jump into the entrepreneurial business world. So I always think it's an exciting ride, and to have people to help you on the journey is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And the numbers in business, I know, is often people are good technicians at what they do, but when it comes to the numbers, that can get really tricky, hey?
It can. The numbers can often baffle people, or they can be scared of them, or, people can just, just kind of not even just think to even look at them. And that's probably the reason why I started my business now, is because I used to have clients when I had the accounting firm come to me in March the following year, after the end of the financial year. It was 9 months after the year, and I'd show them their financial reports and their profit and loss, and I'd be like, fantastic, you made a profit. And they'd be like, well, where's all the money gone if I've made a profit and now I have to pay your bill and I've got to pay the tax office? Or on the flip side, they've made a loss and they wouldn't even be aware that they'd made a loss. And it was now 9 months after the end of the financial year. And I always say it's hysterical data. It's really worthless. Yeah. So if you're looking at it 9 months after the fact, it's probably things you haven't changed at all in that 9 month period of time. And if you're only realizing now that you've made a loss, you're probably in the same position that you were 9 months earlier. So I really like to help business owners to be on the front foot and actually plan their profit.
Yeah, that front foot. Okay, yeah, that's not what most people think when they're dealing with their figures, is that stepping out in front. I love that. So what do you mean by that?
Well, you can really plan out the profit you want to make in your business. So if you know what your sale, what your pricing is for your different products and services, and you really know exactly, you work out what, I always like to work backwards. So you look at what you want to earn personally. So you look at all your personal living costs, and I like to do like the bare bones, but then also the aspirational. For example, if you want to go and have your hair done every week, or you want to go on holidays, or you want to save to invest in your future, whatever that is for your aspirational. And then you work out that, and then you kind of work that backwards into your business. So you actually factor what you want to actually earn out of the business, plus the business expenses and tax, because we can't forget about tax. And then that gives you basically your sales, or what I like to call your freedom number. And do that on a monthly basis. And from that, so say, for example, you work out that your freedom number is $10,000 a month. That means that you need to make $10,000 a month in sales. And then out of that, you can map out your sales strategy or your income strategy, what products or services you're going to offer, how much you're charging for them, and how many you need to sell. So kind of then that really flows into like your marketing and sales plan. for the business.
Yeah, that's actually a great way to, because we talk about lifestyle, but we often get so bogged down into the nitty-gritty of things. But taking it from that angle that you've just said, that just seems to make a lot more sense, because if I want this, well, I have to do this.
Exactly. And when I had so I did have an accounting firm with my father for many years, and it's a bit of a long story, but we made not the wisest business decision and literally went into debt overnight for $500,000. And when I became very clear on my numbers in the business and really understood what it meant and how I was going to achieve them, I actually took control of the business and could grow it. I wasn't always just reacting and come to the end of the month and be like, oh my gosh, where's the cash coming to pay the tax or to pay the expenses? I actually got on the front foot and would plan out my whole year, actually. And that really gave me the strategy to then know, well, okay, in February, March, we need to really start talking to our clients about tax planning and what additional services we can do, or those kind of things. So you can really start planning your business rather than reacting to things that happen.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you. What got you into accounting, and what's the Phoebe Dray story?
The Phoebe Dray story. Well, funnily enough, when I actually left high school, I went and studied natural medicine.
Right. Okay. And that's, what I've had clients do the opposite, go from accounting into natural medicine. But okay, I'm interested now. You've piqued my interest.
I've piqued your interest. So I did natural medicine. I did 2 years and I loved it. I lived down in Lismore with all the hippies and had a great old time. The Gold Coast girl, 18, in Lismore with all the hippies studying natural medicine. But realised one day when we had herbal or something was one of our subjects. You had to grow herbs. And I was trying to grow marigolds, which are those little yellow flowers that grow as weeds in your front garden. And I killed them. So I couldn't even grow. And I kind of sat back and thought, well, I can't grow a weed. I'm actually killing weeds. Maybe this isn't the best career path for me. And I actually thought I'd be really passionate about massage and body therapy, but I actually hated massage. I'm not sure whether you would remember Big Kev.
Yeah.
Do you remember Big Kev? So he was a really good family friend of mine, or our family, because I went to school with his 2 children. And my mum organised for my very first paid massage to be with Big Kev. And I just thought, this is probably not really what I want to do. So killing the weeds and massage, realising it wasn't really my passion, decided it was time to leave that profession or leave the studies I was doing and travel overseas. I did a couple of years overseas, but always had in the back of my mind that I needed to come back and do more with my life. That, my parents sent me to a really expensive private school on the Gold Coast. And I thought, I'm wasting this good private school education just traveling around the world. So decided to come back to Australia and didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest, and just decided to do a business degree. Absolutely loved it at Griffith Uni. Loved everything about it, from statistics to economics to accounting to marketing. Every single subject I just was really, really enjoyed. And I did really well in marketing, but I think I felt like at that time that I wasn't very creative. And there was lots of people doing marketing. So I thought that probably the option of getting jobs out of after uni were probably going to be quite low if I followed marketing. So my father had an accounting firm and I took the easy path, I guess, and started working with my dad in his small accounting firm, and then majored in accounting and joined him in the business.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Fast forward a few years, I was about 23 when I started working with him. And then I think he saw me as his succession plan. So he invested in some coaches to help me understand how to run the accounting firm more efficiently and more productively, and lead the team better to make more profit and to grow. And they were based on the Gold Coast, and they wanted to invest in a small accounting firm that they could have at their offices. So they approached us. It all sounded amazing, but unfortunately wasn't quite as amazing as it sounded. And Dad was very much the old school, do business by the handshake. I was at that time in my life not very confident, so didn't speak up and say, I really think we should get this looked at more closely and see, whether this is really the right thing to do. So we signed the dotted line, and literally overnight the business went into $500,000 worth of debt. And we now had 2 business partners who were the majority shareholders, and we were no longer the masters of our destiny.
Wow, how sad, really, especially for your dad. That's
and that's the things that led me on a really, I think now in hindsight, when I look back on that experience, it was over 10 years ago now. It was probably the hardest, most challenging time of my life. I remember sitting at my computer screen late at night looking at tax on one side and my bank balance on the other side and wondering how on earth I was going to pay it. And actually the hardest conversation I've probably ever had in my life was sitting down with my dad the next day. He was 72, telling him that I thought the only way for us to actually come through this without losing everything was for him to sell his home. And thank God, I don't know what happened, what changed, but I did everything it possibly could take. I started learning from the best business minds. I started doing a lot of personal development and realized that if the changes were going to happen, it was going to have to be up to me. And so everything that I implemented in that business, all the strategies and tools, really turned that business around, enabled us to grow, to double in size. And when I was about 7 years ago, we sold it for a really good profit, cleared all the debt, and walked away from it. Yeah, so a really good positive story at the end. Very hard journey there for a while, very stressful. I remember thinking at one stage I was going to have a nervous breakdown and all these different things, which, and so I really understand the pressures that businesses are under. I understand cash flow. I understand the stress that can cause, the impact that can have not only on your life as a business owner, but your families, your customers, your employees, and everyone else involved in the business. And so now it's my absolute passion to help business owners to not ever have to experience that. Or if they are, just give them that support and strategies of how they too can move through that period and grow their business and create that business that they've desired and dreamed of.
And it comes across in the way you're speaking about it, Phoebe, is that passion because of having gone through that. That would just be, and I think that's what a lot of people do when they go into their own business, isn't it? They take their learnings and their experiences and their struggles and their way out of their struggles into the next thing with their own business and how they help other people. And it's such a important thing to be able to, we don't want to experience all those crappy things, but when we do, they provide us with a whole different perspective on things, and obviously a lot more for you now, a lot more empathy for what people might be going through too.
Yeah, definitely a lot more empathy, but also at the same time I like to be honest with people and to show them, because numbers don't lie. I always say that to people. So really going into their numbers and helping them to understand that and using that knowledge to make changes, I think is so powerful. And that's what I did in my own business. Talk about I implemented all the strategies, but that one thing, really understanding my numbers, understanding how my team impacted my numbers and really planning for that had such a huge impact on my own business. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so why don't people do it?
I don't think people know, to be honest. What you don't know, you don't know. I think a lot of people go into business and they're a plumber or they're a tradie or they want to do coaching or, they've got a passion for something and they're a really good technician. And often that's where you start. Most people, I think, not everyone, some people are a bit different and they go in with they're just trying to create a business and they go in with that business head. But if you've come more from the space of being perhaps a technician or an employee in the past and you've decided to go into your new business, you don't ever get taught it.
No.
So when you're doing your trade or your qualification, or even as a business student, I really wasn't taught all these strategies. And at the end of the day, I was really just a tax technician. But I wasn't taught all these business management and leadership and strategy that is so important to business.
It's an interesting fact, isn't it? Because, and that's, and I love that you said your father got, all those coaches for you to help you along the way, because what I found is a lot of degree-based the university professors that are doing the training haven't had their own businesses before, and they're, this is the steps you take, but it's not that it really doesn't govern what it is in real life.
No, it's very theoretical, very theory-based, and it's not practical. And that's what I found, even because I was doing tax, even the tax law, and I almost failed tax law at uni. Obviously, it was kind of an indication that wasn't my passion either. But, tax law, when you try to actually take that across into real life, working with clients and doing their tax returns and their business activity statements, it was so different as well. So I find universities, it's very good. I think it's definitely got its place, but it's very much theory-based. And, the professors and that are teaching you, they are, what's the word?
They've just been academics. Yeah.
They're academics and they do PhDs and they do something, they don't have the connection between the real world circumstances and actually what's happening. So I learn now more from reading books, and I've got 3 coaches myself. So, I learn more from working with other people and seeing what someone else is doing and being like, well, I want to achieve the results that they've got. So I want to work with them. And that's the way I now, look at how I'm improving my education and knowledge and growing constantly.
And that's such a smart for anyone to do that. And that's part of what you do as well now in that financial space with people. But if you're in business and you're not investing in some form of coaching at some level, and I know I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, and when I first started, the coaching processes were, the coaches were of a standard and they weren't as expensive. But then as we get further and further into what you're doing, you want more and more skills.
Yes.
To be able to learn from people. So then you end up paying more, but it's investment. It's not paying.
Well, it really was when I started investing in myself back, it was my kind of very early 30s when I first got introduced to the professional development I'd been doing, obviously, because with my qualifications, you have to do ongoing professional development, but the personal development side of things, that's literally, I think, what helped transform my life. I joined Toastmasters. You'd probably know of Toastmasters. So I learned.
I'm actually, I'm in an organisation for the last 20 years that started as Toastmistress clubs.
Toastmistress, there you go.
And it's now part of Power Talk Australia. And
okay.
It's very similar sort of thing.
So I did Toastmasters and then went and did lots of different personal development courses and workshops. And that's really when I saw the big changes in myself, because my confidence improved. And I think when you've got the confidence to go out and network and meet new people and do videos, I was doing YouTube videos and meeting with clients and prospects and all that kind of thing. So once that kind of changed and I could actually get out there and start selling my business, and what you do, Janine, and helping people with that confidence to learn those sales skills, it's such an important skill to have. Like the numbers is one side, but without the sales as well, that's like the oxygen of the business. So I say cash is like the blood. Without the blood pumping around, it'll dry up, the business will die. But without the sales, which is the oxygen, you'll also die. So it's so important to have both and to have skills in both areas. But if you're learning at university or you're learning like as a trade, often they're things that aren't taught.
No. And so and that's one of the things I say with, again, I love that you use the word technicians as well, because that's exactly what a lot of people I work with are. They're fantastic at what they do, but then they step into business and they go, all right, now I've got to make some sales. I'm not comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I need to read my financial reports. I'm not comfortable with that.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
Absolutely. Yes. And so if you're not comfortable with something, if you're a sole trader, you have to get comfortable at everything. I'm sorry about that, but some things are going to be easier, some things are going to be more difficult. There's things you're not going to like, but you have to know how to sell. You have to know how to count your numbers. But the beauty of it is the more successful you are, then you get somebody else to do it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not those things. You pass those ones on once you.
Yeah. But I always like to say as well, like, you don't abdicate ever. So you don't abdicate the sales process to someone else. You don't abdicate the accounting function to someone else. You delegate it, but you need to have an understanding, because if someone's reporting to you on their sales figures and they're not achieving the goals that you set them, you need to understand why and what's happening in the sales process and where you can tweak and amend it and lead them to be a more successful salesperson. And on the flip side, accounting, I was saying to someone last night that accountants are the highest white collar crime in Australia. So you need to really understand what's happening in your financial sides, because if you're going to delegate it to someone else, you need to be able to read your reports, be able to see what you would expect to be there. And if it's not, know how to actually get into those reports and really decipher them and to see if anything's going on and what's happening in the business. So, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he realized when we actually did one of the processes that something in his accounting file had been recorded just to the wrong expense account, but that actually had a big impact on his QBCC, his building insurance license. And he was actually paying a lot more just because there'd been this one expense coded to an incorrect account. And it was only from working with me that he actually deep dived into that and realized what was happening and could then make the changes. So I always say, don't abdicate anything in your business. Make sure you understand the process of, it's a sales, it's a marketing, it's the accounting function.
Just even, I mean, nobody is going, unless you're an IT expert, there's a very good chance you're not going to be an expert on your computer. But if something happens and all the experts are on holidays that week or something, you need to be able to go, okay, I think I've got this, so now I can handle this much. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, and look, and that's what you're saying about that client. I mean, that's saving people money. Also. Literally,
yeah, definitely say. And you know, when you save $1 in your overhead expenses, whatever, that's literally another $1 in your pocket. Because that's, you know, if you just cut out an expense of actual cash, then that's more cash in your bank for you to pay yourself more or to put into savings or whatever you want to do with it. So it's actually giving you more cash in your pocket to do more with.
Do you have a formula? I know there's some formulas around there with a certain percentage, you know, with a percentage that goes into this and a percentage that does this.
Yeah, so it depends on what kind of business you are. I think depending on, you know, if you're a service-based provider and, you know, your main overheads, if you've got rent, generally your main overheads are your staff. Like, so for example, an accounting firm, their main overheads, you generally work on a third. So you say staff are generally a third of your income, your overheads are about a third, and then the partners will get a third. That's kind of a rough estimate, but it really just depends on each business. And also, you know, for example, if you're a real estate agent and you're getting paid commission, you obviously wouldn't say, well, I've sold $20 million in houses, because your income is actually the commission on selling those houses. So you'd only work off your commission. So it just depends on the business, but not off the top of my head to share with you, Janine. But
I know I saw something a little while ago, and it was, you know, and it was quite an interesting formula across it was more for sole trader type of business, and it was percentages, and just meant that so people made sure that they paid themselves or made sure that they put money aside, because
you might be thinking of Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Mike Michalowicz is one of my favorite business authors, actually, and he's written a book called Profit First.
Who's the author?
Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah.
And he talks about, he's kind of quite similar to Barefoot Investor, but for business. So you set up your 5 bank accounts, and you've got the top account's your income. So everything goes into your income account, and then you split it out into percentages to the 4 different accounts. So one's operating expenses, one's tax, one's profit, and one is owner's compensation. And he's got, in his book, there's actually set percentages that you should be aiming towards. So when you first get started, obviously you're probably not at the percentages that he would recommend. And he does look at like small business, medium and large business, because when you're a small business, you're generally doing a lot of the work yourself. So your owner's compensation at that point would probably be higher, because you're technically like the employee in the business. Whereas you grow and you get employees doing a lot of the work for you, you're kind of stepping up more to be the true CEO or shareholder of the business. And at that point, your actual owner's compensation would have gone down, but your profit distribution would be a lot higher.
Right.
So it does depend on the size of the business. But yeah, making sure 5% probably aside for profit of your total income. So I always recommend people take off the GST first and then look at the net after GST. So I always say transfer the GST straight away into your tax account. And then
I do that. It's just, it just makes life easier.
So much easier. And the other percentages that I just work off, whether they're correct or not, is I put 25% into operating expenses, 50% to owner's compensation, 5% to profit, and 20% to tax.
Okay.
Whether they're the actual correct percentages that is written in the book, I'm not 100% sure, but they're the ones that I personally have been working off.
Yeah. Okay. And it makes sense at least to have a formula or have something to follow, doesn't it? Yeah.
Definitely. I definitely recommend his book, Profit First. It's a little bit of a dry read, but it is an Audible as well. And it comes with lots of working papers and everything you can download from his website. And so you can hire it for free through the library app, the Audible, like the library audio app.
Yeah.
And I think you get 2 weeks to listen to it, and then you can go to his website and download all the working papers.
Excellent. Okay.
And it's quite entertaining, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's interesting. If it's a fiction book, I read it. If it's a non-fiction, I listen to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same as me.
The only negative with that is you don't end up a book. You go, well, that was a really good point. Hang on a minute. I've got to go back and listen to the point. I don't have something I can bookmark or.
I know. Yeah. I actually end up buying the book as well. So I generally listen to it and then I'll buy the book so that I can highlight it and go back to it.
There's a couple of leadership ones I've just been reading lately, and I've gone, I really like these books. And one's called What Got You Here won't get you there. It's
okay.
yeah, and I'm trying to drive along listening.
Yeah.
I need to take notes somewhere. Looking around.
Yes.
It's probably not a good idea when I'm on the M1 to go
No.
taking notes. But yes, it's important. And that's a really important factor, that is to keep yourself educated. If you can't afford, if you believe you can't afford coach, you can't afford not to have coaches. But if you believe you can't afford coaches, then to learn from the experts who've already written the books. And as you mentioned, the libraries, and some libraries are 2 weeks, 4 weeks, but you've got an opportunity to. There's no excuse for not
definitely not
developing and learning. And these podcasts, I mean, the podcasts are free, and just listening to experts like yourself on a particular subject that can share insights that are going to help you in your business and in your life.
Exactly. I 100% agree, Janine. I'm an avid podcast listener. I love listening to audio books. And as I said, I've invested with lots of coaches over the years, and I'm currently working with 3. I think it's so important to your success, and just helps you to see. I think what I like to liken it to is, if you're inside the jar, you can't read the label. And often in business, you get stuck in your own jar and you kind of can't get out and see what the label says.
I'm going to steal that. I'm sorry. I love that one.
So the coach can actually put their hand in and help you actually pull you out, so that you can see the jar and see, you're looking out through this glass jar and you're butting your head against it, but it just helps give you that different perspective and read the label by working with someone else, because they can have that unbiased view of you and your business and what's working and what's not working. And often you're really emotional when you're in business, and you're passionate about what you do, and sometimes it's really hard to actually kind of step away from that, and a coach really can help you to see where your weaknesses are, and not necessarily maybe even just help you, guide you to hire people to fill those weaknesses, or improve them a bit until you've got the chance to hire them, or help you implement strategies that you wouldn't have thought about to grow your income, or just anything really that, if you've got a weakness or an area that you need to improve in your business, then working with coaches is so invaluable.
Yes, absolutely. I was working with somebody this morning, and it was just this aha moment, that it just went, that's my purpose. Right. Now I can see why everything else is worthwhile. And it was just, I've got it type of moment. And, and for me as a coach, there's nothing better. And you'd be the same with what you do, isn't it? When people really understand and
and I actually I'm really passionate as well about helping people to find their passion and purpose. I think that over this past year, working with some different coaches has really led me to that as well, that numbers are great, but in business, you really need to be passionate and have a big purpose around what you're doing, because business is such a roller coaster ride, and there'll be moments when you won't feel like showing up. You won't feel like getting on that sales call. You won't feel like doing that Facebook Live or going to do that workshop or whatever it is that you're doing. So having that really strong driving passion and purpose behind what you're doing, I feel is so important to help keep you moving forward. And I've actually, I think part of my business now is really helping people to kind of clarify their passion and purpose and using that to create their profitable business. In the accounting firm, as I mentioned, tax wasn't really my passion, but my father and my family was. So for me in that business, my real driving purpose wasn't necessarily, of course I did the best job, and now looking at other accountants, sometimes I'm like, wow, I think we were actually really amazing accountants.
Yeah.
But it was more, my purpose was to help my family. I was in business with my dad, and the thought of him losing his home was strong enough to actually get me outside my comfort zone and lead me down the path of personal development and professional development, and making the changes and doing all the things I needed to do to make that business work. So it's about finding that purpose in you, and hopefully it's not a similar situation where it's, potentially
it's extreme like that. It's what can you learn along the way so things don't get to that situation, or you don't get there's the 3 things that people want in life is 1, to be happier, 2, to be wealthier, and 1, to be what did I say, healthier, happier, and wealthier. And all of us, other certain things are more important, but if your aim is to we're driven around those three components with what the things that we do that are important at certain times in our life. I was just chatting to somebody who is in the health field, and we're talking about her market, and I said, you just stick to us 60-year-olds where everything hurts. It didn't used to hurt. We used to get out and run 14 Ks, no problem. But it's that's important now. Then it was, we'll figure it out when the pain's there later on. But,
yoga, I think that's important at a young age, isn't it? Not that I knew that, because now
I used 43, I've got aches and pains. Yeah, and now I go, wish I had stayed doing that. That would have been useful. But anyway, off track. But it is like anything. It's things that we don't think are important, but they are important in our lives and in our businesses in particular.
Definitely.
Figure out what we need to know and what we need to do. What's your programs?
So I do, at the moment, I'm doing one-on-one coaching with clients. So I do their initial deep dive session. We really look at like their profit plan, which is what I was talking to you before around starting from them first. So I always like to look at the person, the human in the business, and what is it that they want to achieve. So we really look at like their lifestyle, what type of income they personally want to achieve. And then we factor in all the business expenses and tax and work backwards, as I mentioned, to their sales goals, and then map that into a profit plan, and then just work with them really around strategy, systemization, whatever challenges that are coming up for them in their business at that time, really helping them to walk through that and to get from A to B more quickly and to really create the business that they want. It's actually giving them what they dream of.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my one-on-one coaching.
That's such an important starting point for people going into a business, isn't it?
It definitely. So for example, I'm working with one lady who installs or designs and installs wardrobes and cupboards, and she came to me because she was really frustrated that she just didn't know how to price it, and she didn't know whether she was making a profit. And so we've really been diving into her numbers and actually really helping her to understand, because she gets quite it's quite an anxiety thing every time she goes to prepare a quote or prepare an invoice for someone. She just gets so anxious, like, am I actually making money, or am I overcharging? And she doesn't understand, to even if someone questioned, this invoice seems too high.
Okay.
She kind of doesn't understand whether she can go back to them and say, well, no, that's correct, and this is the reason why. So I've been really working closely with her on that, and just the peace of mind it's giving her now to have a tool and a template that she can use, and knowledge of exactly what's going into a job and how to price the job is giving her so much more peace of mind. And then from there, she can look at, now that once she's got that kind of better down, she can then look at systemizing the business and then growing the business. That was
going to be my word then. Because you have to do that, don't you?
You do. You need to kind of understand that, because if you're not making profit, I love Mike McCulloch has got another book called Fix This Next, and he talks about business being a hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy, kind of talks about that for business. So the first level in a business is sales. So you first have to make sure that people actually want to buy what you've got to offer. So when you first start out in business, making sure that you can get sales and that you're actually starting to generate enough sales. Then you really want to look at the profitability. So are you actually making a profit on your products or services, and really understanding how that profit works? And then it goes up to systems, and then it goes up to a few more levels, more around legacy and purpose and everything. But
really have to get this book to listen to.
So Fix It Next is a really good one. So sales is probably where you come in, Janine, really strongly, helping people to actually get out there and to get their sales and to become known. And
absolutely. And one of the things that I help people do is put webinars together, because especially if they've got online programs, it's a great way to get people into online programs, is run a webinar and go, oh, look at this person here. They know what they're talking about. They're an authority. I'm really happy to invest in them. So that's what I help people to do. But so many people go and create programs.
Yes.
And they've got all these wonderful programs that nobody's ever bought. So I remember when I first did my first one about 6-7 years ago, and I was putting together a direct sales mastery program. And I'd sort of nutted out what the 5-7 topics were going to be. I had to, because that was in the webinar. What was the outcome from these 7 different modules? But that was it. That is all I'd done. They're a dot point. And I sold 8 programs that night. Motivation then to create the programs.
Yes.
A lot of motivation. And one lady in particular, she was very keen, and I was able to send her some information. I said, well, what it takes is about 2 weeks for everything to be embedded. So I would recommend 2 weeks between each of these modules, because you really want to make sure that you're not rushing through it. Give me 2 weeks to create the next step. But there's no use going to all the trouble if nobody's going to buy the thing.
No, exactly. And I've put it just kind of not a webinar, but I've put something on Facebook for a lead magnet now, and all these people want it, and they keep messaging me like, oh gosh, I've actually really got to get down and get this lead magnet done now. So it's, that's my big job to do this evening when I've got some quiet time, is to get that lead magnet all sorted out, because I've got another girl emailed me again today. Oh, so when are you sending that across? I'm like, oh no, I've got to get that done.
That's the beauty. Once I've got books, and because I've been doing this now for a long time, I've got a couple of books and ebooks and things like that. So that, and 2 online programs and all the other lots of webinars and hundreds of videos and the podcast. I could just go, here's some information.
Just got to build it out. I think when you're getting started, it's like, because I'm, very new, probably the last year and a half or so, but I'm wearing all the hats, as you say, in business, and it's just, allocating your time. And that's what I actually help people do, is like map out their 90-day goals. So that's a really big part of that 1-page business plan that we create.
I just did that with somebody this morning, the 1-page business plan, and I did doing the 90-day goals. We've got so much in common here, Phoebe. Coming in from 2 different angles.
Exactly. So I was working with my clients the other day, and we're talking about all their 90 days. So this is my group coaching program. So I do a full day business planning workshop, and the next one's in June, which is a really great time to do it for the coming year. And then, part of the group coaching program, I've got a group coaching program called Profit to Cash, and that includes a one-on-one session where we do your profit plan, which is what I talked about before, about, really understanding the freedom number and mapping that out into their 12 months. And then we do monthly training sessions around different topics. I have guest masterclasses on the 5th, when there's a 5th Monday of the month, we do Q&As and all these different things. And then we also really focus in on that 1-page plan and actually discussing the 90-day goals and keeping everyone accountable, because when you are that solopreneur, one of the biggest things is actually accountability and actually achieving goals that you set yourself, because you can be so distracted by all the shiny objects. So actually having someone, a coach or a mentor to hold you that space and to keep you on track and to keep you focused on those 90-day goals, I think is so important. And that's when I had the accounting firm, it was that 1-page business plan and the 90-day goals, but I had a team with me, so I could work with the team and they would keep me accountable, because I'd have to get up and meet with them and everything like that. But when you're just on your own, especially now that we all work from home, it's really hard to have that accountability. So that's a big part of what I do as well.
No, that's all absolutely vital. I'm totally on the same page with that. By the time this goes live, it'll be after that June date. So when I'm going to pop that photo up on Facebook to say, hey, we had a great chat today.
Yes.
And if you want to put the link in there, then
thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great, because that'll get it before the date. So we've covered so much information. Is there anything in particular with some takeaway points that you want people to share?
Just I think what we've been chatting about, being a constant, an avid learner. I think that's really where the change in my success came from, was actually willing to step outside my comfort zone and to keep learning and growing. I remember saying to my dad when I finished all of my professional studies with accounting, that's it, I'm done, I'm never going to study again. And I really found that's when I really dipped. I kind of took a big step backwards. And as one of my mentors would always say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I really believe. So really constantly working on yourself, whether it's professional knowledge, skills that you can share, because people pay for skills that you've got. So developing your skills, but also working on your mindset, especially if you're in business. Your business often is a result of your mindset, and is such like Francesca Moy, one of the ladies I work with, she says that your business is a 3D printout of your mindset. So really been working on like personal development, constantly working on your mindset and doing whatever you can there, whether it's exercise, meditation, journaling, walking, whatever you like to do, but then also improving your personal skills and knowledge and expertise so that you can offer more and be more valuable to the marketplace.
Yeah. Sounds perfect. Absolutely perfect. For all of those components, so important. It's not just about numbers.
No, definitely not just about numbers.
Now, how can people get in touch with you?
So they can look at my Linktree. It's got all of my contact details. So it's Linktree /Phoebe Dray, and that's Dray. And it's got all the links to my workshops, a link to my podcast, Profit to Cash, all my social media links and my website, etc. So if they just want to go to that one link, they can find everything else out about me there. They can also, from that link, book in a free call with myself. So if they would like to have a bit of a chat about their business and what's going on and seeing if I can help them anyway, more than happy to have a chat with anyone about that as well.
Yeah, sounds great. And there'll also be all the contact details in the podcast notes, and people will be able to find it that way. And those watching it on YouTube, it'll be in the YouTube notes as well. And I'm sure, I know you mentioned there's that June training, but I'm sure you run that regularly as
actually we run it every quarter. So nice. I think it's because the 90-day goals are so important part of that planning process. I'm actually going to run, it's a 1-day in-person workshop that I'm going to run every quarter. And you can come back and do it again. And I always say it's really good to even come back again, because you always want to kind of revisit your purpose and your passion and your core values and see whether they're actually aligning, and then really becoming much clearer on those next 90-day goals is key to keep moving you forward in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really interesting and lovely chatting. I can see that we're on the same page on so many different components, Phoebe, and it's great that you are doing what you're doing, because I think it's so important that people get that assistance to understand that how their business is connected with the numbers and their mindset and the way that they apply themselves.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your podcast today, Janine. I've loved it.
Yeah, most welcome. And that's another episode of the We Are Women podcast. I am Janine Bosby, your host. Remember that you can jump on my website anytime and book a strategy call. If I can't help you, I can certainly recommend some lovely ladies like Phoebe, who I know will be able to solve your problems. So JanineAvospa.com, and I look forward to you joining me on another episode of the We Are Women podcast. Bye-bye for now.
So, do you feel stuck in a rut in business? Visit speechperfect.com.au and download Janine's free ebook to avoid the 5 most common stumbling blocks women face in business. It's jam-packed full of tips to overcome the barriers that could be holding you back from the success that you dream your business will be. We would love you to leave a review of today's episode and share this podcast with other women in need of entrepreneurial inspiration. Subscribe to the next episode now and join the We Are Women community.